You have tuned into the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Julio. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the BearDown Corner. I'm Sergeant Julio. Let's get right to it. Breaking news. First story of the day. Myles Garrett has been traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Los Angeles Rams in multiple... Everywhere's reporting it. He's supposed to be going for Jared Verse, a 2027 first-round pick, and other compensation. This is huge for the Los Angeles Rams, who are stacking with the fuck it picks momentum motto as they try to win another Super Bowl to finish out Matthew Stafford's career. This is big, really. Like, you go from being talked about as a Super Bowl contender for next year to being basically the one that everyone wants to stop. And let's not forget, the Seahawks are still the defending champs, and they didn't lose as much as people think. Yeah, Kenneth Walker went in free agency, and you lost some defensive pieces, but you guys have always drafted well. So Los Angeles is just putting their name in the conversation to see who the hell is going to take the chip home next year. Huge to start off the day. Giants former wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. is returning after 7 years. He is expected to sign a one-year deal to bring some depth to the wide receiver room as Malik Neighbors nurses as he comes back from a knee injury last year. Russell Wilson, former quarterback Super Bowl winner, is going to take an NFL analyst job this season as he has declined the New York Jets backup quarterback contract they offered him earlier last week. The Bears are seemingly sticking to their stadium plans. What that means is there was a most recent vote in Illinois. The deadline was coming, end of May. They tried to vote to lower as to the Bears not paying any taxes as to the stadium, the way they worked it. But basically the Bears have said, screw this. They're done pissing around. There's an offer from Hammond, Indiana, and Arlington Heights. Those are the two locations they're going to be looking at. Chicago dropped the fucking ball, and we probably won't be seeing them as the Chicago Bears in the city of Chicago. They're either going to be moving to the outskirts, kind of like the 49ers did in Santa Clara, or they might end up the Indiana Bears. Who the hell knows? Either way, I'll still be a Bears fan. And five-time Pro Bowl, former All-Pro safety of 7 seasons, Derwin James gets his bank as a 3-year extension for $75.6 million was signed earlier this week. That keeps the Los Angeles Chargers safety, who is now 29, entering his 8th season with the team, in place and not going anywhere, as he's been highly regarded by Jim Harbaugh as one of the best safeties he's ever come across. And the Cardinals have been receiving, this could be the next trade coming up, Josh Sweat, former defensive end of the New England Patriots linebacker, and also current member of the Arizona Cardinals, signed a 4-year contract last year, did his first year. They're looking to maybe ship him out because, let's be honest, Arizona they're meant to be competitive with the roster they've assembled, but they're not going to be. Their quarterback situation is flunkered for this upcoming season. So, and that is the news notes for today. Into our part 3 of the 8-part series of State of the Franchise. We are going to have the NFC East this week. We'll start off with the old Dallas Cowboys, shall we? The Cowboys had an interesting offseason. They went and acquired Rashawn Gary from the Packers. So now that means they got 2 former Packers on the defensive line. They went and traded for defensive tackle Solomon Thomas, former first-round pick of the 49ers, and solid piece down the middle. So, you know what? They focused a lot on defense this last offseason. Signed Jalen Thomas, former safety at the Cardinals, 3-year, $33 million. They franchised George Pickens, re-signed Javonte Williams. So, offensively, they kept some of those key pieces intact. Re-signing Brandon Aubrey. Why wouldn't you sign Brandon Aubrey? 4-year, $28 million contract, $7 million average per year, making him one of the highest kickers with Curtis Boswell. Caleb Downs, they selected in the 11th overall in this year's draft. 5 of their 7 draft picks were on defense. They focused on what was hindering them last year. Now, if everything comes together just right, Cowboys should be in the playoffs at least. They might even win the NFC East, if I'm being honest with you. This roster looks revamped with a new sense of energy, almost, right? They knew what they were bad at last year, and they addressed that midseason and into the offseason now. So I would think the Cowboys could probably have not a surprising turnaround, but a better season than most people are thinking they're going to have. The Philadelphia Eagles, the former Super Bowl champs from 2 seasons ago, Ricky Woolen is going to be competing for a starting role after he signed a 1-year, $15 million contract, the cornerback, as he tries to bring stability to that position after they lost Darius Slay after their Super Bowl run. Wide receiver room is looking a little different. There's trade rumors of A.J. Brown getting sent to the Patriots, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. But either way, the Eagles still have Devontae Smith. They signed Hollywood Brown this offseason. They got Elijah Moore. They went and drafted Malachi Lemon. They stole him from the Steelers. They're preparing for life after A.J. Brown, it looks like. So, yeah, good moves by the Steelers. Nothing crazy. You know, they lost guys like Jalen Phillips, Nakobe Dean, and Reed Blankenship. But let's be honest, they have replacement pieces already set. They moved Cooper DeJean to safety this offseason. They went and traded for Jonathan Grenard. They re-signed Jordan Davis up the middle. So they're taking care of people in-house, and they're maybe upgrading in their eyes as to pieces that they've lost. The Eagles always stay competitive. It wouldn't shock me if they win the NFC East as well. It'll probably come down to the Cowboys and Eagles. I don't know. Honestly, all the teams are competitive in this division. But maybe the Eagles find themselves on the outs next year. We'll see. Washington Commanders went and signed Adofe Owe. I can't even read my writing sometimes. My bad for that. The former Los Angeles Charger and Ravens former first-round pick had a little bit of a revitalization. So he finished off 2 years ago with a nice 12-sack season, got traded a few games into this last year to the Chargers, and then for the last 12 games only had 7.5 sacks with a bunch of tackles and making plays all over the place. So he gets rewarded with a 4-year, $100 million contract by the Commanders, who also decided to sign Leo Chanel from the Kansas City Chiefs on a 3-year, $24.75 million. You know what? They shored up the defense a little bit better. They got a few pieces on offense. They drafted a wide receiver in Antonio Williams, a couple defensive pieces in linebacker Jordan Meggie and Nick Cross on safety. Even got tight end, former Tennessee Titans tight end, by the way, Chig Okongwo is how I would pronounce it, to a 3-year contract. This kid, when I've seen him on the field, he has the talent to be a game-changing piece at the tight end position. Pair him with Jaden Daniels and a team that is still competitive in their own right. They were in the NFC title game not even 2 seasons ago. So there's no reason why they can't. Honestly, every team in this division always has a chance, to be honest with you. It is so up and down for many years. For 20 years plus, there was a new division winner every year in the NFC East. So not really too much new going on here. Pieces moving in, pieces moving out. Teams trying to upgrade, get a little younger, get a little better, right? New York Giants were the only ones to change their head coach this offseason, though, as they brought in new head coach and former Ravens bench boss John Harbaugh as he came in, and he didn't come alone. He brought his former backup / starter tight end in Isaiah Likely on a 3-year deal, $40 million. They signed former Bears and Bills linebacker Tremaine Edmonds after we released him this offseason. Cap reasons, obviously. 3-year, $36 million he gets to go play in New York. They signed wide receiver Darnell Mooney. They signed fullback Richard Patrick. They got a whole new revamped special teams in former All-Pro punter Jordan Stout from the Ravens and Jason Sanders, who used to kick in Miami, who is actually a pretty solid dude. So For his former special teams coordinator that specialized in that, he knows what he's doing on that side of the ball. He knows what he's doing as an overall head coach. The man won a Super Bowl and guided the Ravens for 18 seasons. So let's not forget about John Harbaugh. He is a very good coach, and I feel this will be more of a quicker turnaround than most people think, unless it just all implodes on him. But really, all the moves, they traded Dexter Lawrence, but whatever, they're making proper cap space in the fact that they just spent the number 5 overall pick on another pass rusher in Arvell Reese, linebacker pass rusher. So that number 10 pick they traded Lawrence for, they picked up one of the most highly touted linemen in the draft in Francis Magua. Makes sense to me. If you're trying to protect your quarterback in the future, build on offense, build the whole damn team. This is a team that was bad the last few seasons under Brian DeBull. I don't even know why he had his job as long as he did, other than they went to the playoffs their first year in a miraculous freaking set of circumstances. In fact, his first year he was the asshole who benched Eli Manning, for Christ's sake. But you know what? That's in the past. This is now. The Giants are looking competitive. They look to put their best foot forward. They just signed Odell Beckham to help in the receiver room as well. So they lost some pieces as well. Mr. Robinson, wide receiver, left. Wan'Dale Robinson left in the offseason to the Titans. But you know what? You still got Malik Neighbors. You got Mooney, who's honestly, I find a good receiver. He's a former Bear and Atlanta Falcon. Odell Beckham's going to bring that veteran leadership. They're going to be just fine. Honestly, this whole division should be very competitive. But I think at the end of it, probably coming out on top, either in one of two things. I think the Cowboys are honestly going to win the NFC East this year. That's my take. The Giants could be a surprise dark horse. I don't think Washington's going to make playoffs. They might get upset in whatever ways. Jaden Daniels is great and all, but I don't see him making that jump considering the amount of shit that he took last year as he got injured because he's holding on to the ball too goddamn long. You're reincarnating Robert Griffin III, dude. Don't do that. Quit, go to quarterback camp. Make the quick dump offs. Get the ball out quick. Don't put yourself in a position you're going to get injured and have Marcus Mariota start half the season for you. So Washington won't make the playoffs. Eagles should compete for the playoffs in some capacity unless they just have a complete downturn of drama this year. I think the Cowboys are probably more slated as the most improved team out of that. Offensively, the Eagles, who weren't who they were 2 years ago, they got shown and stuffed on the quarterback sneak this season, right? The tush push. Cowboys winning. Dark horse in the New York Giants. Eagles will fight for a spot. Commanders won't even make playoffs. That's my predictions, and that's going to do it for us here today at the BearDown Corner. I'm Sergeant Julio. Catch us every Tuesday at 6 a.m. General Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern, and anywhere you can get your podcast, and of course on YouTube. Be safe, take care, and we'll catch you here next week on the BearDown Corner. You have tuned into the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Julio.